Blade Runner 2049 is a sequel to Ridley Scott's cult classic, and this time around, Ryan Gosling plays a Blade Runner who discovers a long-buried secret that can have huge implications on society. So I recently watched the final cut of the original Blade Runner, and I really enjoyed it. Just the themes that Ridley Scott was exploring in that film and the way he was telling the story, and I just love how established the world was. But right now I'm not here to talk about the original Blade Runner. I'm here to talk about the sequel, which was directed by Denis Villeneuve, who directed Arrival, which was my favorite movie of last year. And I was really excited to see what he was going to bring to the table because his directing style really fit with what Ridley Scott was going for in the first Blade Runner. And usually I'll see a movie and I'll try to get my review up as soon as I can. I wanted to come out of this movie and just let it sink in a little bit, just review what I saw in my own head and let it just sort of sink in and marinate and just reflect on what I saw. And I'm really glad that I allowed myself to do that because the more I think about this movie, the better it gets. I really enjoyed the crap out of this film. This is a proper sequel that I wish more film franchises would sort of adopt instead of just sort of try to pitching towards a whole sling of movies, try to lead into 4, 5, 6 films. This movie did exactly what I was hoping it would have, and it just the story that it was telling, it felt very appropriate. It didn't feel like they were trying to grasp at straws and sort of stitch together something that would sort of make sense and just have enough to make a sequel. The story just felt like a natural progression of where the world would be 30 years later after the original film, and it deals with some of the same issues. It took the themes from the original movie that it was exploring and just added on top of that themes of what it means to be human, what makes things real. And I really loved how things came together at the end. One thing that Denis Villeneuve did really well in Arrival was when one big reveal came, it made you look at the entire film differently. He didn't do that a whole lot in this film, but there's one specific point in this film that everything came together and you see all the puzzle pieces in place and the answer is right there in front of you the whole time. And I just love that he was able to do that in a really organic way. There's some really good performances in this. Well, Ryan Gosling takes over as the lead in this film, and I noticed that this entire film, a lot of his performance relies on little subtle twitches of his eye or just little small moments where it's not overpowering you with an outburst or something, but I just really like how he's able to rein in emotion. Harrison Ford gives a really good performance. It's one of his best performances that I've seen him in a while. And if you are a fan of the original Blade Runner, there's this one big thing, I'm not going to try to spoil it, but there's one big thing that surrounds his character that you really don't get an answer on. It's sort of up to you to sort of gather all the pieces from the movie and come to your own conclusion. And one of the things I was really worried about going into this film was that they're just going to go out and just say, hey, this is what this character is and this is who he is. And you sort of get an answer, but you sort of don't at the same time. So you're still left with that veil of not knowing and not getting a definitive answer of this is what this is. And I really appreciate that they did that. And I can't not talk about the cinematography in this movie. The film looks amazing. It's not as bold as the first one was, but at the same time, I would say that it's a better looking film. I mean, the cinematography is amazing, and I just love how well realized this world looks and feels, just like the first one. And the visual effects were just such a great blend with the cinematography. Nothing in this film felt artificial to me. Nothing felt like that didn't belong or that didn't belong. Everything just felt, again, very natural in this movie. And I really like how the visual effects didn't call too much attention to the tech that was being used in this film. It just felt like the tech in this movie belonged in this world. There were several times in this film where I was kind of floored and wondering how they did that. Not so much how they pulled it off, but just imagining the amount of work that goes into that effect. I was just blown away by a lot of the visual effects and how well they blended in with the cinematography in the film. This movie does adopt a lot of the same kind of storytelling elements as the first one did, not only in the themes, but as how the movie is constructed as well. I mean, the first movie did have this constant rhythm that it had, and this movie does the same thing. And it's not only with the cut of the film, but I noticed it that the characters' performances and the long takes and things just move along at this steady pace. And I could see a lot of people being turned off by this because they can see a lot of this stuff that's going on as boring. I wasn't bored in this film, but I did have a little bit of issue of how long this film is. It is very long, and it felt very long. And I felt that it just didn't need to be 3 hours long. When you look at the original film, it's under 2 hours, and it was able to tell its story in that amount of time, under 2 hours, about an hour and 55 minutes. Because with the movie being 3 hours long, it does cause the pacing to be a little heavy at times. And I just wish they would have shortened it because, again, they didn't need 3 hours to tell the story. I felt they could have told this story in about like 2.5 hours at the very most. And God, that runtime just got to me, and that was my biggest problem with this film. But besides that, it did what I was hoping for, in that it told an engaging story that expanded this already rich universe, and more importantly, it didn't shy away from what makes this property great. So I'm giving Blade Runner 2049 4.5 out of 5 stars. Now, before I go, I will say don't take my rating to heart or anybody else's review as well, because if you did not like the original movie, most likely you're not going to like this film. This film isn't for everybody. I mean, a lot of people are ready from this film, but not everybody's going to like it. I was really excited to see this film because I really like the original, and it gave me what I wanted, a really focused story without trying to be a overexcited, action-packed, filled, bigger budget, make everything bigger sequel. And I really enjoyed the more I think about it, the more I like it. As time goes on, I'll probably see this movie again, and maybe I'll just come back on YouTube and say, hey, I'm giving this movie 5 stars, but right now I'm holding to my 4.5. But yeah, so now it's your turn. If you saw Blade Runner 2049, let me know what you thought of it in the comment section below. Please check out some of my other videos on this channel and hit the subscribe button if you like what you see and you want to stay up to date on all my videos. Thanks as always for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.